You're listening to the Savage Lovecast, Dan Savage's sex and relationship show for grown-ups. If you're under 18, get out of here, young'un.
If you're stuck in a relationship quandary, or if you're looking for sexual harmony, well, there's nothing you can't ask on the Savage Lovecast.
You guys, and it was mostly guys, it was just a joke. Over the weekend, I posted, or I reposted, I can't claim credit for it, what I thought was a really funny meme. A lot of comedy, a lot of jokes. Do what they call flipping the script. Sometimes we laugh because a joke played with our expectations or assumptions by presenting situations that are the opposite of what is expected or normal within a particular cultural context. We live in a particular cultural context where monogamy is the norm, which is understandable as monogamy is what most people want. And I'm willing to entertain the argument that it's what most people should want or even would want if they were free to imagine or choose other things. Monogamy, okay, for some people, as Mama Rose might say, maybe even most people, but some people ain't me. Anyway, the joke in the meme I posted, and I realized that jokes aren't funny if you have to explain them, and here I am explaining the joke, but this joke, which I found funny and did not have to be explained to me, and I wasn't the only one out there who found it funny, it took some things monogamous people say to non-monogamous people all the time, and flipped the script by having a non-monogamous person say those things to a monogamous person. I shall now read this joke into the record. So, Arrow Pride wrote this. Imagine a non-monogamous person having a conversation with a monogamous person who just came out to them as being in a monogamous relationship. Oh, you're monogamous. It's ethical, right? Ethical monogamy? Good for you. I mean, pretty much every monogamous couple I've met didn't work out, but maybe you guys will beat the odds. Ha ha. So is it a sex thing? You guys have sex with just each other? Huh? How did that work? I would never do monogamy. I'm too jealous. I'd worry my partner would leave me for someone else instead of dating us both. How do you deal with the jealousy? Is it hard? Like, how hard? Extremely hard? Do you think you'll break up? I mean, in the long run, because these things rarely work out, ... Get it? Okay, so if you're in an open relationship and you've told people that you're in an open relationship, you hear this all the time from monogamous people. Open relationships don't last. Everyone I know who's ever tried this has failed. What about jealousy? So, if you're in an open relationship, or you've said those sorts of things to someone who is in an open relationship, you knew what was being satirized here. You were familiar with the script that was being flipped. But if you're not in an open relationship, or if you're not the kind of monogamous person who knows people in open relationships, and for the record, everyone knows people in open relationships, just like everyone knows people who are queer. It's just that some people don't know they know people who are in open relationships or queer because the people in their lives who are queer or in open relationships aren't out to them. And that could be a them problem. Maybe the queer non-monogamous people you know are cowardly closet cases who won't ova up and come the fuck out. Or it could be a you problem. Some people give off unsafe to come out to vibes. Something for some people to think about. Anyway, a lot of angry monogamous people were offended by this meme, this joke that I shared, and DM'd me to say in various ways, how dare you, how bigoted, how small-minded, how presumptuous, and how dare you some more, which is how non-monogamous people feel when monogamous people say all of those things to us. Oh my God, the number of times people have looked me in the eye and said to me that they couldn't do what Terry and I, Terry, my husband of 30 years, they couldn't do what Terry and I are doing because they value commitment too highly. Flipping the script, it's a thing, but you gotta be familiar with the script to get the joke, I guess, and maybe this wasn't a joke for monogamous people. Maybe this was a joke for non-monogamous people. Kind of like when Aunt Ida in John Waters' 1974 film Female Trouble said this to her nephew who had just come out to her as straight.
But you could change. Queers are just better. I'd be so proud if you was a fag and had a nice beautician boyfriend. I'd never have to worry.
There ain't nothing to worry about.
I worry that you work in an office, have children, celebrate wedding anniversaries, The world of heterosexual is a sick and boring lie.
What's funny about this is that no gay person would say that shit to a straight person, but straight people have been saying that shit to gay people forever. The inversion is what makes it funny when Aunt Ida says all that crap to her nephew. Once again, for the record, gay people do not think heterosexuals lead sick and boring lives. We don't hate straight people. We need some people, straight people, to make more gay people. We want you to have big families, lots of kids. Google fraternal birth order effect to find out why. Okay, from explaining a week-old meme to explaining a 50-year-old joke from a 50-year-old film, because some people need to have things explained to them, and that's what I'm here for, to help explain things to some people.
Some people can be content playing bingo and paying rent. That's peachy for some people, for some humdrum people to be. But some people ain't me.
All right, Hump 2025, the fall tour, a whole new lineup of amazing, dirty, funny, kinky, crazy, queer, straight, vanilla bi films opens in September, and we are touring that new lineup of amazing films to 45 cities across the US, Canada, and Europe. Discounted early dirty bird tickets on sale now. This is a limited time offer. The discounted tickets, a limited time offer. Go to humpfilmfest.com and get your tickets now for the Hump 2025 fall tour before it's too late. All right, coming up on today's show, a woman whose partner can do this little tongue flick thing that she can't do, and it is her favorite thing her partner does. She wonders why she can't do that. I explain that. Also, when you see T on Grindr, what does that stand for? And a man gets kicked out of a friend group for dating a much younger woman. Also joining me this week on the Magnum, Jena Martin, host of the Memory Hole podcast, is here to talk about repressed memories. Are they a thing? Were they ever a thing? Spoiler alert, they kind of were, but they kind of weren't. The harms the memory wars of the 80s and 90s did to women, to families, to feminism, and why people still believe in repressed memories. That's with my guest, Jena Martin, this week in the Magnum that you can subscribe to at savage.love. All right, we are going to get to the calls now. If you're a Magnum sub, we're going to go straight to the calls. If you're a micro Savage Lovecast listener, and we love you, we love our micro listeners, you're going to have to listen to an ad first, but here we go. This episode is brought to you by Helix Sleep, the very best mattress designed with your comfort in mind. Right now, get up to 27% off site-wide with the mattress purchase. Go to helixsleep.com/savage. This episode of the Savage Lovecast is brought to you by Foria. Foria crafts 100% all-natural sexual wellness products so you can experience deeper intimacy and transcendent moments of sexual pleasure solo or with your partner or partners. Get 20% off your first order by visiting foriawellness.com/savage. That's FORIA wellness.com/savage. This episode is brought to you by Liberator. Liberator takes you beyond the bed with convertible sex furniture that can turn any bedroom into an erotic playscape for longer, deeper, more comfortable, and more seductive adventures. Go to liberator.com/savage or type savage into the search bar for private VIP access to deals that are too good to announce on this or any podcast. Liberator, when your mission takes you beyond missionary.
Hi, Dan. I'm a mid-30s cisgender queer woman married to a non-binary AFAB who's also in their mid-30s. We've been together for 11 years, and I'm calling in with a question about oral sex. So my partner likes to tantalize and tease me by randomly flicking their tongue at me as if they're going down on someone, presumably me. They're like miming oral sex at dinner. They're very good at this. Their tongue is able to move super fast up and down like a sex lizard, and I'm like, whoa, I really do love it when you do that to me. Then I try to do the same thing, flirt back with my tongue, and it's just terrible, like a floppy fish out of water. And I guess I'm wondering if this is a matter of needing to practice and exercise my tongue more, or if it's a matter of genetics. I'll tell you why I think for me this could be a matter of genetics. First, I cannot wink well. I can't do expressive things with my eyebrows, and despite years of instruction, I could never tongue my clarinet quickly enough to keep up with those 16th notes in high school band or roll my R's in Spanish. My theory is that I lack fine motor skills in my face, but if you tell me I'm full of shit, I will go work out my tongue. Okay, so why does this matter? There's obviously more than one move, so to speak, when it comes to oral sex, and I think I've tried a bunch of them, but I don't know, my partner doesn't love it when I go down on them, so maybe I suck and I need to work out my tongue. Both my partner and I had some sexual experience before we got together in our 20s, but not a ton. They also said no other previous sexual partners gave them oral that felt good to them, and that they kind of get trapped in their head while receiving. And generally, it is more difficult for them to be on the receiving end of pleasure. Maybe that's really what this question is about. I think both my partner and I would like them to enjoy oral more. If I need to exercise my tongue more, I promise I'll do it. But maybe there are some other less technical things we should be doing. And if so, what are those non-technical things?
Oral sex doesn't work for everybody. There are people out there who enjoy performing oral sex, who like to eat pussy or suck dick, but don't particularly enjoy having their dick sucked or having their pussies eaten. Oral just doesn't work for everybody. But we have it in our heads. It's sort of culturally reinforced by media, by the sex and relationship industrial advice complex, but by movies and films and jokes that everybody loves oral. And so you sometimes hear from people who it's never worked for them. They don't enjoy being on the receiving end of oral sex, and they think there's something wrong with them, or they're broken, or they're inhibited, or they have some repressed memory, or whatever, when it's just their body saying, this thing that works for most people doesn't work for me. And at a certain point, you just have to work with your body and work with what works for your body and work with what works for you erotically and sexually. And if it gives your partner pleasure to go down on you, and your partner receives pleasure from you in other ways, you say it's difficult for your partner to be on the receiving end of pleasure. In reference to oral, there are, I hope, other ways besides just oral sex that the two of you are being intimate, and things that you do and enjoy together, and ways that you get off the orgasm gap together, and your partner gets off having sex with you and you're having sex with them, doesn't exist statistically in same-sex assigned female at birth relationships. And I'm going to assume the orgasm gap doesn't exist in your relationship, because if your partner never climaxed with you, if your partner never got off, you surely would have mentioned that. You're just talking about oral doesn't work for your partner. And maybe it doesn't work for your partner because your tongue doesn't work the same way their tongue works, or maybe it just doesn't work for your partner at all. There is a way to test that proposition, though. There is a sex toy out there. It is called the squeal. Squeal spelled SQWEEL. I call it the pocket altar boy. It is just this little thing that you open, and there are dozens of little pink tongues on a spinning wheel that you can lube up, and then it can like be held up against a nipple or a clit, and it could simulate for your partner the kind of things they're able to do for you with their tongue that you're not able to do for them with yours. And yeah, there's some genetic component to what people are capable of doing with their tongues. Some people can roll their tongues, some people roll their R's, some people can't roll their tongues in that way. And there's no training. There's no tongue flicking boot camp you can send your tongue to that's going to send back to you a tongue that can do everything that your partner's tongue can do, because there's just a genetic limitation, a genetic component to that. But you can simulate for your partner with this sex toy, the pocket altar boy, as I call it, the squeal, as they insist on calling it, which they still make, and then see. And then if you need to use the pocket altar boy, the squeal with your partner when it's your turn to go down on them, you made that orgasm happen with that tool, as I assume you make orgasms happen for your partner right now with other tools, with vibrators or toys. There's other sorts of sex that the two of you are enjoying together that's working for you as a couple. And rather than your partner, I get it, like you're in your 20s and you want everything to work the way you've been told everything works for most other people. But part of growing and exploring sexually is figuring out what works for you. And part of figuring out what works for you is figuring out what doesn't work for you. I've met guys who love to suck dick, who do not like to be sucked. I've met guys who love to eat ass, who do not want their asses eaten. People sometimes fall on weird sides of these divides. And it's only a problem if you invest in it emotionally, if you believe it's a problem. Then it becomes a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. This means I'm broken, therefore I feel broken. No, this is not how you're broken. This is how you work. This may be how your partner works, how sex works for your partner. At a certain point, you stop fighting that and you just accept it and enjoy it and throw yourself at the things that work for you. And you throw yourself at the things that you know work for your partner.
Oh, hey, Dan. I heard on your show, I think, and a couple other podcasts, talking about T as in testosterone. And they just kept saying P, and then, you was taking T. And doesn't T also mean Tina, which is short for some sort of drug, meth or something? That's very confusing. So let's say you're on Grindr or something, and T, I think T there, I've always thought, T on Grindr, I thought that was for partying and meth or something. So, what's up?
Context clues are our friends. If you're on Grindr, where people are looking for sex, and someone mentions T, they're talking about Tina. They're talking about crystal meth. They're also letting you know that you shouldn't fuck them. Don't fuck people who are using crystal meth. They're a bad bet. If you're at the gym and somebody mentions T, if you're hanging out with a bunch of balding, middle-aged men and somebody brings up T, probably referencing testosterone. Guys get on T. You see commercials now on television in the last 5-10 years where they talk about low T, the way they started talking about ED. Low T, it is a condition. Some men have low testosterone levels, or their testosterone levels drop as they age, and you can go to the doctor and get a testosterone prescription. You can get on T. In that context, when you see that commercial, I have low T, they're not saying I'm running out of crystal meth, that there's not enough crystal meth in the crystal meth jar on the counter next to the flour and the sugar. They're low testosterone. And if you're on Grindr, or you're on Sniffies, or you're on some other skeezy, wonderful, delightful hookup app and somebody mentions T, they're not talking about the testosterone prescription they got from their endocrinologist. I think that's so self-evidently clear that I'm sitting here wondering if you are dumb or you're just playing dumb to get on the show. Whatever it is, you're on the show. It worked. This episode is brought to you by Helix Sleep. I have had my Helix Sleep mattress since 2020, and my mattress, love, my affection for my mattress, my relationship with my mattress, that I'm sure you're all really curious about, is going strong. I really do love all of my Helix mattresses and all of the people I get to love on my Helix mattresses. The Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, including the award-winning Luxe Collection, that's ours, the Helix Elite Collection, a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers, and even a mattress made just for kids. To figure out which mattress is right for you, take the Helix Sleep Quiz to find your perfect mattress in under 2 minutes, and your personalized mattress will be shipped straight to your door free of charge. And with their 100-night sleep trial, you can try out your new mattress, see how your body adjusts to it, and if you decide it's not the best fit for you, you are welcome to return it for a full refund. They offer models with memory foam layers to provide optimal pressure relief if you sleep on your side, or models with a more responsive foam to cradle your body for essential support in stomach and back sleeping positions. Plus, Helix has, and these are very important to me because all of my guys are furnaces, Helix has enhanced cooling features to keep you from overheating at night, or keep the person who's overheating next to you from overheating you at night. Helix mattresses all come with a 10 to 15-year warranty depending on the model. Other mattress companies use fiberglass as a flame retardant in their products, but Helix mattresses are free of harmful fiberglass materials. In fact, Helix owns its manufacturing facility, and it is entirely free from products containing fiberglass. And again, they offer a 100-night trial, so you can try out your Helix mattress, your new Helix mattress, risk-free, and it comes with a 10 to 15-year warranty. Right now, Helix is offering 27% off all mattress orders for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/savage. That's helixsleep.com/savage. Let them know the Lovecast sent you, helixsleep.com/savage. And remember, with Helix, better sleep starts now.
Hey, Dan. This is a caller from the West Coast who was actually on the show almost 10 years ago on episode 490. I had the boyfriend who didn't have very much experience, and I had a lot of sexual experiences in college, and I was a little nervous about it. Well, we're still together. We're actually married now, going on 12 years together. And as you successfully predicted, we did open things up a bit, and it went incredibly well. I've got a really good friend who I fool around with sometimes, and we're so close that he was in my wedding party. My husband had a whole bunch of experiences. He was able to have his slutty phase, and I'm really glad that he got to have those experiences. We have a different issue now. We decided that we want to become dads. We're starting the surrogacy process, and it's a long road ahead, but we've made some good progress. And I, have started having these feelings lately about, I guess you might say, preemptive mourning. I'm just so happy with where we are as a couple, how sexually liberated we are, how I can get my needs taken care of and he can get his needs taken care of sexually and emotionally and romantically. And I feel like we really hit a stride and figured things out. But now I'm kind of worried that all of it's going to kind of go to shit when, the social bomb of having an infant in your household comes. Listen to your book, The Kid, really resonated with me a lot. And I guess I'm just wondering if you have any advice going into this process. We're hoping to do the first attempt at a pregnancy within the next few months. So I've got like a good year before the baby arrives. How do we stay liberated men taking care of each other's needs through having an infant?
My mom, if she were still alive, would hate that I'm about to incorporate her into this response in this way. When Terry and I became parents, my mom came to visit, plucked the infant out of our arms, and shoved us out the front door to go on a date, to go out to dinner alone together, to be alone together for the first time in months. And my mother's advice was to take advantage. My mother's advice was the only time you remember that you liked each other well enough to want to have kids together in the first place is when you're away from your fucking kids together. My mom, mother of four, said that to me. So this is a meteor, you talk about a social bomb having an infant in the house, and that's coming. It's really a meteor that you are jumping in front of. It's going to hit your lives, hit your relationship. The amount of sex you two are having right now, that is gonna dip. But the dip won't necessarily be permanent, especially if you don't begin to resent each other. You can pre-grieve the dry spell you're likely to have in the first 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, when having an infant in the house is this exhausting, physically taxing relay race where one of you is always on. You're going to have the advantage, you and your husband doing surrogacy, that neither of you is physically having to recover from pregnancy and giving birth. And the workload of taking care of that infant will be a little bit more evenly divided, but still, it is going to test and tax you. You should talk with your partner now about how a lot of your sex life in the first 3, 6 months, 9 months, if you even have time for an erotic thought or impulse, is probably just going to be laying next to each other in bed, having a quick wank in between washing bottles, feedings, changing diapers, doing laundry, the relay race. And then the kid gets a little older, the grandparents come to visit, you get a date night. Maybe you get a whole weekend where mom and dad come to visit and you guys get to go away. Well, take my mom's advice. Take advantage. You can. When the grandparents come for a weekend and you guys get to be alone together, which is when you're going to remember why you liked each other well enough to want to have kids together in the first place, you can have sex that night. Your date night doesn't have to be a movie and dinner. It can be a threesome at a hotel or at somebody else's apartment. It's just when you get back home and your mom is there with the baby in her arms, you tell her about the movie you did not see. You don't tell her about the threesome you just had. There are things, also my mother liked to say, things a mother has a right not to know. And that your date night, courtesy of mom, was a hookup, was a sex date with somebody who isn't you or your husband. Your mom has a right not to know that. You don't have to tell her that. But you can take advantage just the same and stay connected just the same. You will have sex. You will have sex in the future. Just be generous and patient and kind to each other in the first year and adjust your expectations accordingly. A few wanks a month, maybe once or twice a week in that first year, that's good. That's a lot of sustained sexual connection and erotic connection with your partner during the exhausting, trying first year. And then you'll have more time and you'll be able to hook up with your friend that you've been hooking up with regularly when you get a night off and your husband stays home to take care of the baby. And then there'll be some nights when you stay home with the baby and he gets to do his thing. It is possible for you to have your open relationship, have your sexual adventures, and have your family too. Sounds like sexual adventures in your open relationship has, for you guys, like it does for many male couples, actually contributed to the strength of your relationship, to sustain your relationship. You're still going to want to look at each other even after your parents and see your partner, see your husband as the reason you can, not as the reason you can't. It's in the best interest of your child for you and your partner to keep being you and your partner and creating space when you can. And you won't be able to create it as often or as easily in the future, but creating space when you can for sexual adventures and for outside sex. Good luck. This episode is brought to you by Liberator, the best thing to happen to sex since the bed came along. Whether you want to have sex on the mattress or on the floor or some other surface, Liberator wedges and pillows make getting with and getting on and getting under and getting in your lover easier and more comfortable. Access thrilling new positions by elevating your partner for better visual presentation, access, and stamina. With Liberator, you can ramp up to that super doggy position. And for people who love sex and have extra room, Liberator's discreet convertible sex furniture and sex chaises are true game changers. They're built for better orgasms and extraordinary intimate experiences, and they can help you furnish the sex room of your dreams. For kinksters who love cuffs and blindfolds, Liberator offers bondage-compatible options for pillows and chaises. Make love in new ways with Liberator sex pillows and toy mounts, all the perfect angles and curves to support a life well laid. It's even better, Liberator products, even better when they're on sale. What isn't better when it's on sale? Just go to liberator.com/savage or type savage into the search bar at liberator.com for VIP access to deals that are too good to announce on this podcast. Let them know the Lovecast sent you, liberator.com/savage.
Hi, Dan. I met someone on a road trip last year in the Pacific Northwest, and I don't think either of us knew the magnitude that it would be, and it became amazing. We met in a national park and had adventures, and we've kind of called it like twin flames, but he lives in Seattle and I live in Louisville, so there's that. We definitely tried dating, and we were partners for about 6 months. I was also seeing 2 other people. I also realized that I had such a deep connection to him, and it was the first time I had felt love for someone in almost like 4 years. And I shared that with him, and I don't really have connections like that with any of the other partners, and I'm currently only seeing one person now, and it's not him because he abruptly ended it without ending it. He went on a spiritual journey in January and came back and pretty much wasn't interested in continuing, because I think it was just too much and long distance, and he was definitely a lot further in his poly lifestyle than me, even though we all both started about the same time. Don't have enough tools in my toolbox yet working around jealousy and emotions, and I just don't think he was okay with that. But what I'm getting at is I am having a really hard time on letting him go. I feel like I'm almost grieving the relationship, and I'm so thankful that I got to feel that again. But at the same time, I was hoping to be able to see him this year, and I said that, and I said, I hope to see you at least once this year, and his response was, there's a lot pretty much pulling at him, and he's open to what the universe brings to him. So he didn't really say he wanted to see me back. It's just like really hard going from like someone being all in and then pretty much ripping the cord out and going to zero. What is the best way to try and move on and let this person go? It's like I want to reach out to them, but I know they have kind of checked out, even though we still consider each other twin flames. I'm just having a really hard time and could use any advice.
There's a lot coming at me. We'll see what the universe brings. Just fancy, crunchy granola ways of saying, it's not you, it's me. It's the wrong time for... You got dumped. You had what sounds like a wonderful affair with a person you met in a magical place at a magical moment, and you had what could be, if you weren't grieving it so intensely, if you weren't so invested in having a future with this person, it could be, in the rearview mirror, a wonderful short-term relationship. But that's all it's going to be, because he dumped you after whatever fucking spiritual journey he went on. He dumped you. Sounds to me like you're capable of loving someone intensely, but you may be making this poly person mistake of not ending relationships you're in that you should end to make room for or create a vacuum that'll suck in new relationships, new people that you should be with. You said that when you met this guy that you fell in love with in this national park, that you had two partners. You had two partners already. You were with two other people, but you hadn't felt love for anyone in 4 years. So you had two partners that you were not in love with, and yet you were with them. They were you're using partner to describe those relationships. If you're not in love with some polyamory, many loves, if you're not in love with someone, why are you with them still? The mistake I see a lot of monogamous people making is they end relationships they shouldn't end because they can only have one relationship at a time. I'm not saying everybody should be polyamorous, but sometimes you see somebody who's so welded to the idea of monogamy that they can't conceive of anything else, and they burn down a wonderful relationship that could have been transformed into a different kind of relationship if they could have wrapped their heads around it. But the parallel thing I see on the other side, a lot of poly people, is not ending relationships they're in that they should end because they don't have to end a relationship that they're in to get into a new relationship or bring somebody else into their life. And then you meet people who have 66 partners but aren't in love with any of them really, or in love with any of them anymore, but they never deacquisition anybody. So my advice for you, masturbate about this relationship. Enjoy this relationship in the rearview mirror however you enjoy relationships in the rearview mirror. Be thankful that the universe delivered this man to you when it did, and you wanted more. You wanted a future with this person, and that's not going to happen because it's over. You don't have to let him go. He's gone. You can be sad about it. It would be weird if you weren't sad about it. But what you should do is stop wasting time, emotional, sexual energy on the partners you have already that you do not, at least now that you have somebody to compare it to, you do not love the way you want to love someone, and go find somebody that you can. And it's not going to be this dude. It's going to have to be somebody else. You got your heart stomped on. That happens. Once you've had a little more time to heal from the stomping, hopefully you'll look back at this relationship and the pain of this rejection will be worth it. That the 6 months you got to spend on this planet at this time with this person, in hindsight, when you're with somebody else or you're healed from the breakup and full of hope for new potentials, new relationships with people who are geographically closer to you and looking for more of a committed relationship with someone like you, you'll look back at this relationship and be glad of it, despite the pain. So, you got dumped. I'm sorry. I really am. I don't mean to sound curt or dismissive. We all get dumped. I have been dumped. It sucks. Everybody recovers. Go to the gym, have some ice cream, get under somebody else. You met this person moving through the world. You were out there doing things, going places. You were someplace and the two of you intersected, and it was wonderful for 6 months. So keep moving through the world, keep going places, keep doing interesting things, keep being open to new possibilities, to new people. And you will, for sure, I promise you, you will run into somebody again who makes you feel everything that this guy made you feel. And the feelings will be, fingers crossed, reciprocated for longer than 6 months with that next guy. Get out there. Are you fortunate enough to be sleeping with a lady? Treat her like the queen she is and treat her to some Foria products. Sex oil, it's fun to say, it's even more fun to use. Awaken Arousal Oil is like a juicy warm-up that helps you get really turned on, increasing your pleasure, deepening your orgasms, and strengthening your connection with your partner by making it more tactile and slippery. Awaken uses CBD and warming, sensation-inducing organic botanicals that enhance arousal, sensitivity, access to orgasm, and just overall pleasure and connection. Intimacy melts are insertables that can help you experience deep internal waves of pleasure, and sex oil lubricates during sex and creates an erotic experience for both or all of you. Their pleasure set includes all three, and I highly recommend you try this mind-blowing triad of pleasure products. So, as your resident sexologist and your gay uncle, you have my blessing. Go ahead, treat yourself to a juicy, deep, sensual experience with a bottle of Foria. Foria is offering a special deal right now for our listeners. Get 20% off your first order by visiting foriawellness.com/savage or use code SAVAGE at checkout. That's FORIA wellness.com/savage for 20% off your first order. I recommend trying their new massage oil combined with their Awaken Arousal Oil. You can and will thank me later.
Hey, Dan, this one's a little controversial. I need a little savage love court here. So I'm a 50, at the time of this happened, I was a 52-year-old white man, straight, and that's relevant. I became close friends with a group of 30-somethings that through a woman that I went out on a few dates with. And the friend group went really well. Like I appreciated their perspective on things, and they were really nice to me. And we had, we went out together. They were mostly like concert buddies. There's kind of a queen bee in the group of sorts. She has strong opinions, and other people don't, and so they kind of defer to her to, for the group dynamic. So we were hanging out for probably 6 months. And I was told by several people in the group that they were glad to have me and that they cared about me, which made me feel really good. It's hard to find close friends, at this age. So a little bit later, I was looking for some non-monogamous dates on Hinge, and I decided I wasn't having much luck. So I decided to just set my age filters like real wide. And I saw this attractive 20-something, 20, she was 20, who said that she preferred older partners. And I was like, well, fuck it, why not? And that's how it is with online dating. It's like you send 20 messages hoping you get one response. I just didn't think anything would happen. She was stupidly attractive and out of my league. And I was just like, yeah, who cares? But why not, right? So we actually matched and messaged, and it was cool. We went on a couple of dates. She is, like I said, 20, black, queer. I just really didn't think that she would be into me at all. But, she said, I got it. She said, I got I understood how to date black women, I guess. which was a huge compliment to me. So we went on a couple of dates, and then it went well. And then the queen bee in the group heard about this, and I told her about it, and she was like, "No, absolutely not. I don't." And she said, "We need to think about our relationship." And then fast forward a little bit later, she said, "No, we don't want that kind of energy around here." And I was basically booted out of the group. I waited a month and messaged them again to say, "Hey, do you really want to do it this way?" And they said nothing. There was no response. I messaged several people. So I want to know if these people were jerks to me or not.
Daddies, not just twinks anymore who are into daddies. For all of the Sturm und Drang about age gap relationships with significant age gaps that you see online, there are a lot of people out there, young people, who are attracted to people who are significantly older. There's something about that age gap, the power imbalance that can be built into that age gap, that is attractive and arousing, and not just for the older person, often for the younger person too. You might have found one of those people in this hot, queer, black 20-year-old woman who wanted to jump your straight, white, 52-year-old bones. The mistake you made was talking about it. Not to, your trusted confidant, not to a best friend that you could have said, "I did this crazy thing that, I'm not going to tell everybody about. There's nothing illegal about it, nothing to be ashamed of." But you had to know that women in their 30s or 40s tend to, I don't want to say feel threatened by, look down on many of them, men in their 50s and 60s chasing 20-year-olds around the sofa or Hinge or whatever it was. Linda Holmes is an author and a host, a voice you sometimes hear on NPR. They posted on Blue Sky this weekend, "My villain origin story is going to be the 1 millionth fictional story I see where some dude ends up with a woman 20 years younger than he is and nobody notices or mentions it." Now, Linda's talking about fictional representation there. What she's saying is middle-aged women, they notice it when their male peers are all chasing after women who are young enough to be their daughters. And it makes a lot of them feel uncomfortable. And it makes them not want to hang out with that dude. Sorry, these women don't want to hang out with you anymore because they don't see you as a good guy. I don't think you're a bad guy for hooking up with somebody who is 32 years younger than you necessarily. I believe in the campsite rule. I believe that age gaps can be arousing. I believe that somebody who's 20 years old and in college is an adult. I do think relationships with significant age gaps should come in for higher degrees of scrutiny, and that scrutiny should be welcomed, particularly by the older person in that relationship. But it doesn't sound like you went to this friend group seeking a gut check to make sure you weren't doing anything wrong or being exploitative. It sounds like you bragged on it without having the self-awareness to know that this would probably piss all these women off or make you seem like a creep in their eyes, even if, benefit of the doubt here, even if you didn't do anything creepy. Just the outline is a little creepy. The silhouette is a little creepy. Most people will be made uncomfortable, and you didn't have the common sense and good judgment to know that. Again, I don't think you shouldn't have told anybody, but you obviously shouldn't have told the queen bee in this group or anybody else in this group. So yeah, there's no way back. You're not going to be able to unshit this bed. You're not going to be able to unscrew this pooch. I hope it was worth it. I hope the 20-something or 20-year-old queer fuckfest you had with this woman was worth it because it cost you something. And hopefully you learned something. Next time this happens, next time the universe sends you a much younger person who wants to fuck the shit out of you, take the win. Be a good person. Honor the campsite rule. Keep your fucking mouth shut. All right, time for some listener feedback. First up, a few of the comments listeners left in the comment threads about last week's show at savage.love. Says Inspired Desires, I wonder if the gay couple seeking threesomes is being forward enough. The way he says, we get dates, but nothing happens feels very passive. I wonder if the third isn't leaving those dates thinking, I thought I was going to hook up with a hot couple, but then they never made a move. Says Tall Canadian. Here's one idea for the woman who wants to keep the DS vibe going with her sub after having kids. A sub I dated for a few years liked to be commanded to keep his head at a lower level than his dom, me, at all times. If I was standing, he could stand. He was shorter than me. But if I was sitting, he had to sit at a lower level or sit on the floor between my legs. This can be done with others around who are none the wiser. Says Zoftig the Magnificent about the woman who got in trouble for taking dirty pics at work. I would absolutely fire someone if I found out they'd taken sexually explicit photos at work. Not because I'm prudish, but because that's too close to behavior that could invite unsafe workplace complaints. Says Thingamajig, I get Dan's point about the boyfriend here being a bad actor, and it sucks that he managed to use the work setting as a loophole for what was clearly intended as revenge porn. But work is not the place to shoot your sexy pics. All right. Almost everybody in the comments agrees with Zovtig and Thingamajig, but I sit here wondering, am I the only one who's ever fucked around at the office? That is a thing. It's literally a thing that mainstream advice columnists, your Ann Landers, your Abigail Van Buren, your Dear Prudence, your Xavier Hollander have advised their readers to do in order to spice up their marriages. Being a little inappropriate at the office when you're there alone, when you have it all to yourself, it is a thing people sometimes do. It is a thing I have done. A quick pic taken at the office seems like less of a violation of the sacred sanctity of the workplace to me than actually fucking at the office. But I'm a huge pervert. I may not be the best judge. I defer to the sense of the Senate. All right, to read more listener comments and to leave a written comment yourself, go to savage.love, click on the latest Lovecast or column or struggle session, scroll down to the bottom, and join the conversation. And now, some of the voicemails Savage Love listeners left on our answering machine this week about last week's show.
Hi, this is a comment from episode 974, the widow who was looking for sex worker. I would recommend that you, once you do find a good potential sex partner, paid or otherwise, to talk about your parameters on setup such that you're not going to have sex at that time, and then let yourself reset so then you can make a date after they know the parameters. So that's part one. And part two was that there's a lot of people who really, really get off from cathartic crying. My partner, absolutely one of those people. And so it's entirely possible that your tears will be exceptionally welcome and even sexy to them for whatever it's worth. So I hope you find what you're looking for, my friend.
I am completely in Dan's corner. Enough already, please, with the general preference questions. On the one hand, it's a lovely sentiment coming from a good place. I think that you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings and you want to be sympathetic and empathetic. But for the love of God, we all have preferences, what we like, what we don't like, what gets us off, what doesn't get us off. And it's okay. Like Dan says, as long as you're being considerate and kind and empathetic and using your words, you're going to be just fine. But we all like what we like, so enough already.
Hey Dan, this is a response call to the caller last week who was questioning whether or not her lecturer from decades ago had been in the wrong. Got to admit, I cheered when he said we have to take responsibility for the choices we make, and agree that, standards were different and it doesn't really sound like he did anything wrong. But my main feeling was that, I think when we are single and we don't have anyone in our lives at the moment, the last person who's occupied that space in our heart or in our mind is the one that we keep referring back to. And it sounds like this is what the caller is doing. He's taking up too much real estate in your brain and in your heart. He is done. Let him go and create space for the next hot professor that you can fuck quite happily and ethically. Let him go.
All right, we are going to leave it there. Got a question for me? Go to savage.love/askdan to record and upload your question directly onto our website, or make a voice memo on your very own phone and email us your question or your comment by sending it to q@savage.love, or you can call us at 206-302-2064 and leave us a message on our old-fashioned answering machine. Hump 2025 Part 2 heads out on tour this fall, as I mentioned at the top of the show. But now is the time to get cracking on your submission, your masterpiece, your dirty little masterpiece for the Hump 2026 Film Festival. Go to humpfilmfest.com/submit to find out everything you need to know about getting your 5-minute or less porn short into Hump. All filmmakers get a cut of every ticket sold. Submissions are due December 5th, 2025. Again, all the information you need, humpfilmfest.com/submit. Follow me at Blue Sky at Dan Savage. Follow me on Instagram and Threads at Dan Savage. Follow Jena Martin on Instagram at Jena_with numeral 1N. So Jena_within, but within is spelled with the number 1 in place of that second I. Her podcast, The Memory Hole, is available wherever you get your podcasts or at memoryholepodcast.com. Savage Lovecast is produced every week by Nancy Hartunian and me and Nancy and the tech-savvy at-risk youth. We will all be back at you next week with another installment of the Savage Lovecast. Thank you for downloading.